Everyone knows the Caribbean. The images of the Caribbean appear in movies as well as musical compositions and postcards used for vacation promotion. Under the brilliant paradise image runs an historic narrative stronger than all screenplays written by Hollywood.
Managed to define the Caribbean society in such a simplistic form that we have forgotten who we truly are. We are people of every class, color, and creed.
Sandy beaches don't define the West Indies, as this land exists because of the concurrences between political forces, human survivability, and cultural evolution. But how did it all begin? The first inhabitants of this land remain unidentified. European explorers landed at the locations they found. The West Indies has an unbelievable history that surpasses any fictional tale you could imagine.
Britain has a very small army when the war breaks out. And much of that army is distributed across the empire. Indeed, the British Expeditionary Force that goes to France in 1914 at the beginning of the war is only about 100,000 men.
West Indies.
West Indies?
West Indies. West Indies. The West Indies.
History of West Indies. Civilizations flourished in the West Indies territories for a long period before European ships reached those Atlantic islands. The islands contained entire native populations that predated European world knowledge about them. The Siboney represented the initial human inhabitants of the area who made their homes in caves by pursuing hunting practices and collecting wild plant foods. The Taíno, originating from Arawak lineage, arrived after the Siboney settled in the islands and developed farming as well as villages with their distinctive culture. Before European contact, the locals cultivated cassava and maize along with their pottery craft and fishery activities in Caribbean seawaters. Their ignorant existence would soon end after the arrival of a transformative event that reshaped everything. The Taíno weren't alone. The Carib people held absolute control over the minor islands, maintaining their reputation as brutal warriors. The people demonstrated excellent maritime abilities through their fast navigation across islands using canoe vessels. The argument exists over whether the native people practiced cannibalism, given European exaggerations about their lifeways or recorded activities. History confirms the Caribs were prepared to fight as they engaged an adversary that was beyond their previous encounters. The early civilizations existed without access to iron expanses and without wheels or horses. Their primary value lay in uniting strongly with their homeland, together with their divine beliefs and historical customs. Their society existed around sacred rituals as well as myths and spiritual beings. The peaceful residents faced their first disruption when Spanish ships approached from the distance. Christopher Columbus reached the Bahamas in 1492 while searching for a new route to Asia. Instead, he discovered a world where Europeans had no knowledge of its existence. Once discovering the Bahamas, Columbus received an enthusiastic reception from the Taíno people who gave him food supplies along with gold attachments. His men, along with Columbus, were searching for riches, not friendship. They were looking for wealth. As soon as they arrived, the Spanish implemented colony building by creating Santo Domingo, which became the first European base in the Americas. The Spanish colonizers restrained the indigenous population to extract gold deposits and send them to work on plantations. European diseases such as smallpox started killing indigenous people in massive numbers throughout the territory because they were carried over from Europe. 2 million indigenous people perished as both the Taíno and Siboney peoples lost almost their entire existence during the initial 50 years of European colonization. Spain did not operate as the exclusive colonial force which sought territories in the West Indies. The arrival of the British, French, Dutch, and Danish soon followed after the Spanish. The British established their hold over Jamaica, while the French monopolized Guadeloupe and Martinique, and the Dutch, along with the Danes, collected smaller Caribbean islands. These islands possessed their importance mainly because of their strategic location, but were especially valuable because of their lucrative sugar production. Sugar was the new gold. Sugar cane prospered remarkably in Caribbean weather conditions, resulting in the expansion of widespread plantations throughout the islands. There was a fundamental issue regarding who would perform the exhausting labor. The answer was enslaved Africans. Millions of African people, including men, women, and children, suffered through the horrific transatlantic slave trade aboard ships, confined like furniture. During this time, known as the Middle Passage, Africans faced a terrible floating experience. Slaves were forced to link themselves by chains and received food rations fit for mere cargo, with their captors giving them no better treatment than cargo containers. Many never made it. The survivors were made to live through a sad existence on the plantation fields. Workers on the sugar fields kept working through the entire day from dawn until dusk because slowness resulted in beatings and resistance brought punishments. The enslaved people resided in overcrowded primitive housing with scarcely enough nourishment to sustain their existence. The enslaved workers strongly reacted against their oppression in numerous ways. Some became Maroons by fleeing into mountain terrain and establishing hidden communities that conducted guerrilla attacks on slave owners. Other groups of the enslaved population chose rebellion through open, militant uprisings, which caused major unrest across Caribbean territories. Among all slave revolts, the Haitian Revolution stands as a well-known historical event. Due to the tactical leadership of Toussaint Louverture in 1791, Haitian slaves initiated their rebellion against the French, which led to their ultimate victory and the establishment of an independent Black Republic in 1804. The world went into shock when enslaved Haitians succeeded in removing their French colonial masters because this revolutionary break seemed to open other slave colonies to similar rebellions. During the early 1800s, abolition activism started to spread. Various British activists, supported by former slaves and religious groups, constantly campaigned for an end to the slavery system. Through their coordinated work, the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833 gained enough support to grant emancipation to British Caribbean slaves. Other countries adopted their approach after France. However, complete liberation remained elusive. Former slaves received little pay after abolition, yet the colonial powers maintained complete control over the land ownership. As time progressed, the path to change continued to blow stronger each day. During the 20th century, Caribbean nations took political action to achieve complete independence from colonial rule. The creation of the West Indies Federation occurred in 1958 through an attempt to create a single nationalist entity among Caribbean islands. The organization failed due to internal problems between its members. Each individual Caribbean island declared independence one after another. Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago ended British control first in 1962, followed by Barbados, the Bahamas, and other countries. Puerto Rico joined its colonial authorities, while revolutionary Cuba followed a different direction of government. The West Indies region exists in the present day with features derived from earlier times while moving towards future advancement. CARICOM serves as the foundation that promotes cooperation between the independent governments that rule each island. The marks left by slavery alongside colonial occupation persist, but the people demonstrate great resilience. The island destinations attract global tourists, as tourism has become the leading industry in the region. While beach resorts make the Caribbean famous, the islands preserve their ancient cultural heritage that features alluring histories. Various Caribbean musical genres such as reggae, calypso, and salsa perform stories that celebrate victory through struggles. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more historical content.